Yeah. Analytics off the chain, other channels not the same. Jake and Kyle, you know the name. Headliner Nation, we running the game. I'm a headliner.
What is going on, Headliner Nation? Jake and the Doc coming back at you. A lot of people were wondering about the Doc. Where has he been? It's been over a month almost. Everybody's like, is he still around? Is he part of the team? You're damn right. He's still around. He's sitting right this way. Nope, he's sitting this way. He's sitting this way for me. Doc, welcome back to from a brief hiatus, I guess we'll call it here from YouTube.
I did. I took a little bit of a sabbatical, cleared my head, and did a lot of continuing education courses on the weekends, so I couldn't record. Sorry.
That sounds like a lot of fun.
Doctor duties.
Doctor duties. All right, hey, well, this is what we're going to do today, because if you've watched me and the Doc over the past season or so, you've heard the word binky before, where we're talking about a quarterback's favorite binky. Now, if you don't know what a binky is, you want to tell the people what a binky is, Ethan?
The actual binky, or
yes,
the
actual binky in baby terms.
Oh, a binky is like a pacifier, or it's just that little plastic thing you put in a baby's mouth. And usually kids get super addicted to binkies. So they love them, they care for them, and they want to constantly have that binky close to them. So I have always referred to a quarterback's favorite target player to get the ball to as their binky. And so I came up with this episode talking about binkies.
Take all the credit, why don't you? I mean, this is all right. This is Ethan's episode going forward because he created it. So in this episode, what we're going to be doing is we have all 32 teams, and we're going to try to get through all 32 as quick as we possibly can. If the video gets a little bit longer, just look down below. There's probably going to be timestamps, so you can look for that. Now, some of these teams are going to have obvious binkies. Like, there's not a whole lot of options, and we're probably not going to disagree. However, if we come across a team where we don't agree on said binky, we're going to hash it out and figure out who that guy is going to be, because this is pretty important for fantasy football, Ethan. When you're trying to find who a quarterback's favorite target is, it isn't always the number one wide receiver or the high-end tight end. It could be somebody else a little bit further down the depth chart, and it just jogs your memory a little bit to say, hey, this guy may be an option coming up in my draft. Now, before we get into all these teams, just a quick reminder, if things are getting a little hairy downstairs, make sure you take care of yourself this summer, fellas. It's beach season, people out at the community pools, and don't nobody want to see you looking like you got Chewbacca in a headlock, okay? So make sure you head over to manscaped.com, use the promo code HEADLINERS, and get yourself 20% off and free shipping right now. Don't miss out on that, especially here in the summer months when you can't cover it up with hoodies and sweatpants. But now, we're going to head in, and we're going to start here with the AFC East, Ethan. So remember, we're going rapid fire here. I know you're a doctor and you can get into some big words every once in a while, but we're going to rapid fire until we disagree. So the New England Patriots is where we're going to kick it off. And at AFC East, who you got?
I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers. He led the team in targets last year. 56 more targets than the next closest receiver. They didn't really add any receiving threats to take this place. And so I feel like Mac Jones is still going to, kind of default to Jacoby Myers. They don't really have a pass catching running back either. So Jacoby Myers just makes the most sense. And one that a wide receiver one you can get pretty cheap still in fantasy drafts. So worth remembering that name, especially if you go running back heavy, probably a guy you should pick up.
I'm going to agree that it's Jacoby Myers, but I'm going to disagree that there's not another receiving option there, because damn it, give Devontae Parker some cred, some street cred.
No.
Dude, you got to acknowledge his existence.
I refuse.
Fantasy Bigfoot going to make an appearance in New England this year. But like you said, Jacoby Myers, when we're talking about binkies, I think he's the safety valve in that offense and does once again get the majority of targets. Does that lead to the most production? Maybe not. But he may be the binky once again for Mac Jones. Now down to the Jets. Who you got for Zach Wilson here?
I think for the Jets, it's going to be Elijah Moore. He had the most targets on the team last year, but the team didn't pass very much. And Zach Wilson is going to have to default to somebody. I don't think that a rookie in Garrett Wilson is going to stop the connection that Elijah Moore has with Zach Wilson. And so I just feel like he's the safest option here.
Yeah, we saw Elijah Moore at times last year be pretty electric in this offense. Unfortunately, we couldn't see him on the field more in 2021. As much as I want to say that it's going to be like a Breece Hall or a Michael Carter, I still believe that Elijah Moore in the slot with Garrett Wilson and Corey Davis on the outside tends to be a little bit more binky-ish. So not too many disagreements here. I'll agree with Elijah Moore. What do you got for the Miami Dolphins?
I'm going to go with the new guy, Tyreek Hill. I know that Jalen Waddle saw 140 targets last year, but I just feel like Tyreek Hill is a true alpha. I don't think that Jalen Waddle is like totally non-existent. I do think he's going to still get his, but I think Tyreek Hill commands in that 140 to 160 range of targets in this offense. And he already seems to have a connection and rapport with Tua. So I'm just going to go with Tyreek Hill. They paid all the big bucks to him. So he's going to have to get the targets here.
I don't mind Tyreek Hill whatsoever, but I'm still going Jalen Waddle. I think the defensive attention is going to lean towards Tyreek Hill, giving more opportunities for Jalen Waddle to have single coverage, especially if they can put this dude in the slot with Cedric Wilson on the opposite side. You still got Mike Gesicki. There's 64 running backs there in Miami. Jalen Waddle is a guy that I think could eat absolutely across the middle of the field and turn a 5-yard slant into a 65-yard touchdown. So as much as I like Tyreek Hill, I still really like me some Jalen Waddle. Maybe too much. Buffalo Bills. Who you got for Buffalo?
We're going to go with Stephon Diggs next.
Oh, okay.
That's easy.
That's an easy one? You're just going to cut it off there?
It's going to be Diggs. As long as Diggs is healthy, get this Gabe Davis stuff out of here. Diggs is still going to have 150 targets in this offense. There's no doubt about it.
Now that there's no Cole Beasley, I have to agree that Stephon Diggs is going to get a bump in targets. I still like Gabe Davis, don't get me wrong, but I don't think he's going to be the binky. When you're talking about binkies, it's got to be Stephon Diggs. All right, AFC North now, Cincinnati Bengals. Who you going there? There's options here.
There are, and I do think that I still think it's Jamar Chase. The thing is when you're establishing a binky, college binkies matter, okay? And Jamar Chase was
sometimes the length of the binky, it's important.
Yeah, length of binky matters, and history of the binky matters. And Jamar Chase has been Joe Burrow's binky for years. And I don't think that's going to change.
I can't argue this one too much. Once you establish a solid binky early on, it's really hard to change the binky. Any parents out there, once your kid finds the binky, if he loses said binky, trying to replace it, if you can't find the exact same one, can be tough. So yeah, Jamar Chase, original OG binky for Joe Burrow. Pittsburgh Steelers, don't be a homer here.
This one is tough because Deontay Johnson has always been a target monster, but I'm really legitimately concerned about what his contract situation is going to look like. Is he going to hold out? Are they going to trade him? I don't think they trade him. So I'm going to go with him here, but I could see, somebody else kind of taking over that role if Deontay Johnson is kind of, chirping a little bit about his contract situation. Don't rule out Najee Harris here. I still think he has a chance to command over 100 targets. He had 94 actually, tied with Austin Eckler in the league last year for running back targets. So don't be surprised if we see a lot of Najee out of the backfield as well.
My binky may not be tops on the team in targets, but I'm going with the Muth because we don't know a whole lot about Mitchie Biscuits in Pittsburgh. We don't know a whole lot about Kenny Pickett. Who's going to be their favorite? I think the Muth provides some safety and a great check down type weapon for whoever it is playing quarterback. So I'm going with the Muth. I think he sees a lot of targets inside the red zone this year and could definitely be the red zone binky. Ravens, who you got for Baltimore?
I think it's still Mark Andrews.
It's got to be. Yep.
I want to think that Rashad Bateman can take a step forward. No Marquise Brown, but Mark Andrews has been the binky for a while. This is probably the first case where you could make an argument that the quarterback is his own binky because sometimes Lamar Jackson tries to do too much. I don't know if we have any quarterbacks on this list, but this is the first one where I had to kind of consider the fact that the quarterback likes to call his own number a little bit. But I'm still going to go with Mark Andrews. I think he's going to be, just 130 plus targets and probably 10 touchdowns.
Being your own binky, like, I don't know if that's like cool or if that's kind of weird.
I think it's more a testament to, do you trust the offensive players you're playing with? And if you're a child and you have your own binky, that would be like sucking your thumb.
Okay, great analogy. Way to bring it home, Doc. I'll buy it now. Sucking your thumb. Got it. That was great. I was totally off the bandwagon. Wasn't believing a word you were saying until you brought that up. All right, Cleveland Browns. Because I'm going to agree with you on Mark Andrews. We've seen him be that way for years, in this offense already. It's not going to change now.
This one is tough just because the quarterback situation could not be worse not in terms of talent, but just in terms of situation. What happens with Deshaun Watson? What happens with Baker Mayfield, regardless of what happens with Deshaun Watson? I think Amari Cooper is kind of the default binky here, but he's coming into a new offense, having just been traded. I don't know. Amari Cooper is always kind of a safe bet to get targets. Nick Chubb maybe is the binky here because the offense may have to just rely on the run game.
You stole my binky. My binky's going to be Nick Chubb because I think what you just said right there, being that we have questions at the quarterback position until we know about Deshaun Watson, Nick Chubb is going to be the one safety valve in that offense that regardless of who's under center, he's still going to get touches and be the binky for the Cleveland Browns. So not a big surprise here. Chubb is my binky. AFC South, Houston, Texas. Is there such a thing as a binky in Houston? I guess there is.
I think there is. I think Brandon.
There's only one option.
I think Brandon Cooks has to be the binky, but he fits the binky profile. Okay. Him and Davis Mills have a little thing going on. He had 130 targets last year. Like, this is a dude that he can be a wide receiver one. And he's another guy that, I think people kind of forget about the target opportunity that he has. I'm not going to say
default binky though.
Well,
because there's what other binky options are in Houston?
Just because you don't have other binkies doesn't mean there isn't a binky on the team.
But if you're looking at your toy box, right? The lid's closed. If you only got one binky to choose from, it's not very hard to choose a binky.
Hey man, sometimes you got to accept that there are default binkies in the league. Okay. And
did you just call Brandon Cooks a default binky?
He's a default binky. Okay. He's the binky by default. And here's the thing. If you're crying, if your kid's crying, you're giving him that binky.
So I'm cracking myself up over here. I'm not mature enough for some of these sayings.
I can't believe you said that Chubb was your binky.
Yeah, he is.
That's inappropriate.
All right. I have to agree with you because there's no other options. It's got to be Brandon Cooks. Indianapolis Colts.
I went with Michael Pittman here. I think that he established that he can be a consistent wide receiver target. He's got a big body, good frame. I really like Michael Pittman. I think he's a really solid wide receiver, like late in wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 that's got touchdown upside. And I think that, new quarterback is going to like him.
I agree with you there. I still think the binky here has got to be Jonathan Taylor because how can he not be everybody's binky? I'm still holding out hope that Julio Jones signs with the Indianapolis Colts and once again becomes Matt Ryan's binky. Because I live in the past. If Julio
Jones showed up, he would be the binky.
He would be the binky.
He has to be.
Yeah. Can't argue with because that's
there's
reintroducing
no more
a past
binky relationship.
Yeah.
In the league.
That's like losing your favorite binky and then cleaning your room and finding it. And you're like, oh my, oh, you know what I mean? Like you find your binky.
Yeah. All right. I've never really been that excited about it, but
I would if I found my binky that I'd lost for a while. Tennessee Titans.
There's a lot going on here. They don't really have a wide receiver one that's healthy, at least right now.
Facts.
I think Derrick Henry is still the binky, like for the whole offense. He looks huge.
He is huge.
I mean, he's still a massive human being. So I still think the offense runs entirely through Derrick Henry, the defense. So Derrick Henry's the binky, but I kind of like your pick. I'm not going to lie.
Did you say that Derrick Henry's going to play defense?
I'm saying Derrick Henry and the defense.
But he could play defense if he wanted to.
He's absolutely bigger than most linebackers.
Exactly, 100%. My binky is Robert Woods. And I can't ignore Bobby Trees going to this situation. Yes, I know he's coming off of an ACL surgery, but Traylon Burks is dealing with, what is it, asthma or something now, where he can't continue.
He has a knee issue.
Yeah, there's other issues there. And with the rookie
issues.
Yeah, I mean, you should know these things, that you're kind of the doctor. So I'm kind of worried about his initial growth in this offense, at least to start up the season. Robert Woods looks to be getting back, close to 100%. We still have a couple months to go before the season. Robert Woods is a veteran wide receiver that's a great route runner that can turn small and short routes into big plays. And I think Ryan Tannehill falls in love with the veteran presence, and I'm going with Bobby Trees. Jacksonville. Who you got for Jacksonville? This ought to be an exciting team to talk about.
I don't think it's exciting. Originally, I had Marvin Jones. I actually said this last year in the preseason that I thought that Marvin Jones would be the binky of Trevor Lawrence, and I foolishly said that he would score 15 touchdowns or could score 15 touchdowns. He didn't hit that number, but he was the binky, led the team in targets, 120 last year. But I was thinking about this, Jake, and
don't you dare take my binky. Don't you take my binky.
Dude, you just changed your binky right on the middle
But
of
I changed it before you said it, so it still counts.
You tell me who you think his binky should be, because I bet we agree now that I'm watching you change the notes.
You just watched me type it in, so I'm sure you know who it is. We were talking about Jamar Chase and past binkies from college. How can we
binky history?
Yeah, how can we not go and say Travis Etienne is going to be the binky in this offense, because he's going to get that NFL opportunity with his quarterback from college and Trevor Lawrence, check down passes, snaps out of the slot, carries from the backfield, goal line opportunities. James Robinson's not 100% healthy, coming off a torn Achilles. Travis Etienne got to be the binky.
You're so right, Jake. That's where I was going with this, was that the history, Travis Etienne, the team wasn't afraid to throw to running backs last year. James Robinson, I think, had 40-something targets. Travis Etienne could double that. I mean, he's that explosive out of the backfield. And you're right. I think that Travis Etienne is going to be the binky, and he could be one of the sleeper running back ones that people aren't talking about it enough. And maybe after they watch this video, they will keep climbing him up the rankings. But yeah, Travis Etienne, probably going to be the binky if he's
got to be the binky. All right, let's round out the AFC here, Ethan. Denver Broncos, AFC West.
This one's tough. Because it's a new quarterback situation. We don't really know what's going on with Jerry Jeudy. He's got some legal issues. So I'm going to default to Courtland Sutton. I really wish that Melvin Gordon didn't come back, just because I think that Javonte Williams should be the binky.
He should be.
But he's not going to be the binky. So we're going to default to the guy that matches the last binky that Russell Wilson had, and that was DK Metcalf. Courtland Sutton is not DK Metcalf explosively, but he is a very good wide receiver, big body. I think he can be used kind of all over the place, and I think he has the best chance to be the binky. But this is not a great situation for binkies.
That backfield is a split binky. Split binky in the backfield, because I think both of them are capable. I agree with Courtland Sutton just because I don't know enough about Jerry Jeudy right now. If everything plays out and Jerry Jeudy is on the field week 1 and is good for the entire season, I believe that Jerry Jeudy could default to the binky because he could see the most targets. But I think Courtland Sutton, we know Russ wants to cook and go deep down the field a little bit more here in Denver. That benefits Courtland Sutton a little bit more. What about the Chiefs?
This is probably the easiest.
Default binky?
Yeah, we got a default binky situation here. Well, I wouldn't say totally.
It's probably.
Yeah, it's a default binky situation. It's Travis Kelce.
100%.
There's no Tyreek Hill. I don't expect anybody else that they brought in to really be binky material year 1 at least. And so Travis Kelce, going to see a ton of targets. Probably.
Juju going to be a binky in training.
He's
like a training binky.
Yes. I hope so. Sky Moore.
No, you're buying the hype.
Potentially in training.
You're buying the hype.
But I think he's a few years out.
Give me Justin Ross.
Justin Ross is absolutely not the binky you want. He will not be the binky.
He will not be the binky, but damn it, I'm pulling for Justin Ross. Okay, Los Angeles Chargers.
I'm going with Austin Eckler here. Doesn't lead the team in targets, but I think that he is still kind of the default option from a just overall offensive game plan situation. I think he is one of the few running backs that is a legitimate threat every time he touches the ball. And I just feel like the team wants to run more through Austin Eckler. He showed he can be healthy last year. And so this one's close, though, because there's a couple guys that are total target monsters on this team.
I got to go with Keenan Allen. Not that I don't like Austin Eckler. I just love Justin Herbert throwing the ball down the field. Hopefully to Keenan Allen. Mike Williams, a little bit more of a sporadic binky. Mike Williams is like the binky that when you go to the store or something, it's like the emergency binky that's in like the zipper of the diaper bag. Like that's Mike Williams to me. I'm going with Keenan Allen. High-powered passing offense, binky number 1 for Justin Herbert. How about the Raiders? This one for me was very difficult. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, no way this was difficult.
This was really difficult for me.
Really? This is perhaps the most challenging binky because you have a classic binky versus binky. We have
exactly, and that's where I'm struggling.
Last year binky.
Yes.
We have 2 years ago binky.
Yes.
It's actually a 3-way binky.
There's a 3-way binky.
3-way
on this
binky.
Team. And and this is why it was hard for me.
Just like when you buy the triple pack of binkies at the store. Okay.
Yep.
Because you got 2 years ago binky, Darren Waller. You got last year's binky, Hunter Renfrow. And then you have college
binky.
Devontae Adams comes in. I think it's going to be Devontae Adams. I feel like he has a gravitational pull that very few players do. I don't think that this takes away from those other 2 guys because I still feel like this whole offense could be pretty insane. But I'm going to go with Adams. I think that Derek Carr really petitioned hard to get this trade done because he wanted his college binky. So we're going to default to the age of the binky.
I have Devontae Adams as well, but damn it, if Hunter Renfrow wasn't just like on the cusp of being lead binky.
He's right there, man.
He is. And Devontae Adams may be binky 1A and Renfrow binky 1B because I love me some Hunter Renfrow once again this year. Overall, I think that offense, like you said, going to be very, very high-powered and explosive. Now, we've reached the halfway point. We're getting ready to transition into the NFC. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. We're going to come up with a mystery hashtag here, Ethan, and then I'm going to pick a winner down below to give a free draft guide to see who's really paying attention out there. So let's go hashtag where's my binky. Leave that comment down below in the comment section. I'll pick a random commenter to give you a free 2022 draft guide. Now, NFC East, Dallas Cowboys, go.
This one's tough. I think it's going to be CeeDee Lamb. I think this is the time for CeeDee Lamb. There's no Amari Cooper. I think CeeDee Lamb has to step up and be the binky here. There's other options that have more of a track record, but I feel like this is the year that CeeDee Lamb takes a jump into wide receiver 1/early 2 range in fantasy, and I feel like he's going to be the default.
This is one of those scenarios for me where I don't feel like my binky will be the target monster in the offense, but I think he's the safe option. He's the one that you pop in your mouth before bed and he puts you to sleep. You know what I mean? Lead binky material. I'm going with Dalton Schultz because I think that from the tight end position, we know that they've lost Amari Cooper. They lost Cedric Wilson. Sounds like Zeke is healthy. Tony Pollard in the backfield. But I feel like Dalton Schultz is going to be that safety check down guy, not getting the bulk of the defensive attention, utilized in the red zone a little bit more. So I'm gonna go with the tight end here, and I'm going Dalton Schultz as my binky for Dak Prescott. Philadelphia Eagles.
This one is another tough one.
Are we borderlining self binky here?
Is this a thumb sucker here?
This might be a thumb sucker. Oh God. Did we just say that Jalen Hurts was the
thumb sucker, man?
No offense, Jalen. Like we know
playing.
You don't suck your thumb.
This is part of the gig.
Yeah, this is just part of the show.
Episode. Okay. I still think it'll be AJ Brown. but this is very close to a thumbsucker situation.
I don't have AJ Brown, but the more we talk about it, like I feel like I'm on the verge of thumbsucker as well.
Yeah.
I have Dallas Goddard because it sounds fancy right now.
That's like fifth material binky. It's
no,
like the binky
I don't
found
think
on the
it
couch
is.
after you gave up your binky.
No, Dallas Goddard is just
terrible.
He's like the Dalton Schultz safe binky. You know what I mean? Like he's just the safe option.
Terrible.
He's like the option that maybe like the binky itself is a little bit worn, like it's been chewed on a little bit or something like as they're teething. It's not like a fresh binky, but Dallas Goddard is going to be my binky for Jalen Hurts, if not a thumbsucker. I wish I knew thumbsucker was an option before we did this. I would have labeled them thumbsuckers in here. How about the Washington Commandos?
Oh, this one's I'm just going to I feel like this is a default binky situation.
It should be.
You maybe are disagreeing with me. I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin. I don't think there's actually fire here. I think he's trying to get paid. If I'm Washington, I'm probably paying him because when are you going to get good players in Washington? I feel like if you're trying to build something around this defensive line and having an offense that's competent, you have to pay Terry McLaurin. I know he wasn't like amazing, but I still feel like he's probably one of the 25 best wide receivers in the league. So I'm going to go with Terry McLaurin.
If you had we'll call it Equate brand, because that's the only one that can come to my mind as an off-brand Walmart brand here.
Sponsored by Equate.
Not sponsored, should be sponsored. Or you had a Gerber. So you have a Gerber binky, which is like $9.99, or an Equate binky for $2.99, but both of them solve your problems. I'm going with the cheaper Equate binky, and I'm going with Jahan Dotson as the binky here this year because I think he's pretty similar to Terry McLaurin, can do similar types of things, and they don't have to worry about paying him. I don't know. I want to see Terry stay there, but on the other side, like I want to see Terry leave and go get a better chance somewhere else. So I'm kind of torn there. I love Terry McLaurin, but I'm going with Jahan Dotson as my binky in Washington.
I really struggle to have a rookie wide receiver be the binky, unless it's a Jamar Chase situation where they have binky history.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that, but there's no history there between Terry McLaurin and Carson Wentz either.
Good point.
So on to the New York Giants.
Knock on wood, shake some sage around the room. Okay. I'm going to go with Saquon Barkley here.
No.
And everyone yells at me for this, but I still believe, okay? The injury risk is there. Yes. But who else? Jake? Who else? Is there another binky out? Is this a default binky situation? It has to be.
Okay, so I'm going to agree with you with the fact that it's a default binky here to Saquon Barkley. 100%, because I don't really believe in Daniel Jones. Okay, so it's more so that I don't believe in Daniel Jones, and that's why I'm not choosing the Kenny Galladays or Sterling Shepards or whatever in this offense. But I can't sit here and say that I still believe in Saquon Barkley. You, Chris Chouse, and Chris Kennedy have this affinity for Saquon Barkley that I just can't anymore.
I just want to believe. Jay.
I want to believe, but damn it, I haven't seen it in years.
I know.
Like eventually you lose that binky and it's gone for so long you forget about the binky.
And then you find it.
No.
And it's like, oh.
What if you find it and it's got mold on it? Like that's Saquon Barkley.
But
it's been eaten by rats.
But it's still a binky.
But do you put it in your mouth?
If you're a child, probably.
Depends. Maybe.
Now I
maybe
feel
your
like I've
parents
called
taught
myself
you right.
a child. Great.
Huh?
Thanks, Jake.
All right, moving on. NFC North, Green Bay Packers.
What is
Not a lot of binkies to choose from.
What does a man do when his binky is traded?
Probably cries.
He cries.
When a baby loses their binky, they cry.
They cry.
Yeah.
And then they are forced to go with the backup binky.
Yep.
They don't love it. It's not their favorite binky. It doesn't taste as good, I think, but it's all they've got left. And the new binkies don't take, they don't fit. We're not in a spot where you can get a good binky. We're like back
Below
of the car, kids screaming.
Yeah.
You're just searching for whatever you got. You find a binky. It's been used before.
Maybe by a different child.
And you just, you wipe that baby off with some water, the binky, not the baby. And you shove that binky in the mouth and you say, you like it. Okay. That's Aaron Jones.
I thought you were going to say Sammy Watkins because he's been passed around. Like he's been binkies all over the place.
No. I don't know. Sammy Watkins is like the playground binky and you don't want the playground binky. That's a terrible binky.
All right. So I don't disagree with Aaron Jones. I think that he definitely could be the binky because we've seen him be the binky when Davante Adams had missed time in the past. I'm still slightly leaning towards Allen Lazard because we know Aaron Rodgers still wants to throw the ball, and who else does he have to really throw it to that he has any past binky chemistry with? Only Allen Lazard. So I'm going to go with the Lizard King here and go Allen Lazard.
I think that's fair, but I actually put Allen Lazard first, and then I was like, wait a second, Aaron Jones is still there.
Yeah,
he's a thing.
I love Aaron Jones this year.
As you should.
I like him a lot. I like it a lot. All right, moving on. The Minnesota Vikings.
Justin Jefferson. I don't think there's really anything close here to binky material. I guess you could maybe argue. I don't even think you're going to argue Adam Thielen anymore. It's JJ.
I think the only argument for Thielen is that maybe Kirk Cousins has two binkies. He's got the 80-yard binky, the entire field, but then he gets in the red zone and he pops in that special binky, which is Adam Thielen the past couple. Dude has 35 red zone targets over the last 2 seasons. It's just two different. It's a story. It's a tale of two binkies here is what we're going to call it, because I have no issues with it being Justin Jefferson 80 yards of the field. Once we get inside that 20, I can just see Kirk Cousins going and popping in the new binky and having
it's a bedtime binky.
It's a bedtime binky right there. It's just its own animal. How about the Detroit Lions?
This is a tough one because I feel like the Lions would tell you that they want DeAndre Swift to be the binky.
Right.
And I don't think there's a lot of great options. You mentioned another one, which I'll let you have. I think it's DeAndre Swift, but I'm just saying that sometimes the binky can't stay healthy. And so even though when he's healthy, he is the binky, there are times when you don't have that binky because maybe it falls out easily or it doesn't have a safety strap to it. And so the kid's in the back of the car, he loses the binky. There's no way you can get it. And so you have to default to a different binky or the kid has to cry it out. That's DeAndre Swift. When he has it, everything's great.
Great binky.
Great binky. But the kid loses this binky way too often. And when you lose your binky, you have to go to a second binky.
And the second binky is who I have here, because the binky that's always there for you, the one it's all reliable here for him, is Amon-Ra St. Brown, because you got DJ Chark who came in. He's coming off an injury where he may not be 100%. You drafted Jamison Williams coming off a torn ACL. He may not be 100%. Default binky, end of season, Amon-Ra was that binky for Jared Goff, and I could see him picking up where he left off. Does it last all season long? This is a thrift store binky. It's not going to be something that lasts for years upon years upon years here, but for the start of this season, Amon-Ra is that binky.
We at the Fantasy Headliners cannot condone the use of thrift store binkies.
Don't ever use a thrift store binky.
Thrift store binky.
Yeah.
That is all.
Yeah, okay. On to Chicago. Not a lot to choose from.
Yeah, but there's like already an established binky. This is ideal. Okay.
I agree there.
There's an established binky. It's Darnell Mooney.
100% going full Mooney.
40 targets last year.
Yeah, full Mooney.
He went full Mooney. And when you go full Mooney, why would you go anywhere else?
You wouldn't want to. I'm going to 100% say Darnell Mooney. I thought about David Montgomery, but then I realized they don't really throw to their running backs very much. I thought about Cole Kmet, but it's Cole Kmet. We going full Mooney. NFC South, Atlanta Falcons. Who is the Binky?
I think the Binky is going to be Kyle Pitts, but this is the only team that I feel like a rookie Binky is very much a possibility. Drake London has a great chance to be the Binky in this team on this team. But I think that as long as Marcus Mariota is the starter, I think that Kyle Pitts is the safest bet to be the Binky.
I agree. I think this one depends on the quarterback. It depends on the baby. If it is Marcus Mariota, 100% Pitts is the Binky. If it goes to Desmond Ridder, that's where I think Drake London becomes the Binky. Carolina Panthers.
This is the only one that I cheated and I put two Binkies. It's a double Binky situation.
Dude, you can't shove two Binkies in your mouth at the same time.
I don't care, Jake. It's you got two.
I've never seen a baby with two Binkies.
You don't want one to get old. You got a red one and a blue one and whatever. You got double Binkies. Okay.
You two fists in your Binkies. I got it.
Or let's put it this way. We got the Binky that you're hoping is the Binky, and then you got the Binky that's probably actually the Binky.
Okay.
So CMC is the real fancy, expensive Binky that you're like, yes, this is the holy grail of Binkies. The best Binky that you could possibly give a quarterback, CMC. And then you're like, but we don't trust this kid with this really expensive Binky, so we're only going to give it to him like a few times. And we always have to be watching with this Binky. So we're going to give him this cheaper Binky when he goes to daycare. That's DJ Moore.
The way you analyze that, I can't really argue it. I have Christian McCaffrey written down, but you've made a great daycare Binky argument for DJ Moore.
Yeah, you can't send your kid to daycare
with the best Binky.
With the best Binky. That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, because you lose that, or you go to pick up your kid and some other kid's sucking on your baby's Binky. It's not a good day.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. Going to the New Orleans Saints. I can't take you anywhere.
This is terrible. As long as this Binky doesn't get suspended, it's Alvin Kamara. But if this Binky gets suspended, we're in trouble.
I agree that we're in trouble. I just don't know if Jameis Winston as the quarterback makes Alvin Kamara the Binky, because I still think Jameis wants to throw the ball down the field a little bit more.
Yeah.
Old school Binky, not of Jameis, is just a random Binky in the locker room. Michael Thomas continues to just not be healthy. He had surgery like a year ago and still isn't 100%. Hasn't really played football much in 2 years. Not relying on that Binky. I'm going for the return of the hometown boy and going Jarvis Landry as this year's Binky. Maybe not a ton of yardage, maybe not a lot of touchdowns, but a lot of receptions to help move the chains and keep possessions alive. Give me some Jarvis Landry as a Binky in 2022.
If healthy, is it Michael Thomas?
No. Because I'm not so sure that he won't just stop playing by week 3.
Yeah, I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced he's still healthy. I don't know if he's even healthy.
I just realized today he's 29 years old. He's almost 30.
He's almost 30.
He's almost NFL old.
This is if Michael Thomas is the Binky, you lost in the kid's room. It's in there somewhere.
Yep.
But you can't find it. It's never around. But it has not left the room.
It's in the room somewhere.
In the room somewhere. It's just, where the heck is this Binky?
Yep. On to Tampa Bay. Now, this one I feel is going to be like a default Binky for right now.
Default Binky for sure.
I got Mike Evans. I'm sure you probably do too.
It's Mike Evans.
If Gronk signs, though, I want to change it to Gronk.
Yeah, I think it's still probably Mike Evans. But
probably.
As far as just targets, but I do think that it would be tough to make anybody but Gronk be Tom Brady. Talk about history.
A lot of history.
Now, that's a lot of history.
And you think about it, look at it this way. If you're at home and you're relaxing, nobody's around, you got old school Binky. It can be chipped a little bit. It can be faded. It can be a different color. It can be partially melted from the dishwasher, whatever. Nobody's around. Who cares? Baby loves the Binky. Then you go to like a birthday party and you don't want to bring Raggedy Binky to the birthday party. Then you got to pop in the new Binky. That would be Mike Evans. He's the birthday party Binky, where Gronk's the old school at home Binky.
This is just incredible.
I had no idea it was going to turn into this type of show, but
I don't know how we got to this point in our lives, Jake.
I don't know.
This might be the best show we've ever done.
It or the worst. One of the two.
One of the two.
It's up there. Let us know down below if you're laughing at all, because I've never said the word Binky this many times in my life.
Ever.
NFC West, last division. Bring us home here, Ethan. Who you got for Seattle?
You know, this is weird because I feel like this is the only team in the league where there's multiple Binky options, but there's no kid. Like the kid has disappeared.
There's no kid that wants a Binky.
There's no kids in this.
Yeah, the kid's like, I don't need a Binky. I'm good.
It's like, you've taken the kids to the grandparents' house. Now you got all these Binkies laying around and nobody's there to enjoy the Binky. I'm going to go with DK Metcalf, but I don't really have a strong answer here.
Me neither. I have DK Metcalf as well. But like you said, I feel like Seattle is where the grown-up kid is at, and he just doesn't need a Binky, and he doesn't require a Binky at all. Maybe he has like a crocheted blanket or something instead, because nobody wants a Binky in Seattle.
I'm still not convinced there's a kid in this house.
There may not be. All right, San Francisco.
If he plays, Deebo Samuel, I think, is going to be the Binky again. I do worry a little bit about his contract, but it seems like he's practicing and like going to camps and stuff. So maybe this is just like hey, seriously, pay me. He's kind of whining about it, but I think ultimately Deebo is going to be the guy.
I think it kind of depends on who's the quarterback, Jimmy G or Trey Lance. I'm assuming and going with Trey Lance. And for that reason, I'm going with George Kittle as the Binky this year. I think
George he's going to stay healthy.
No.
Okay.
No.
I just want to make sure.
I don't think he does. I don't think he plays 17 games. But 14 games of a Binky is a pretty solid Binky. You know what I mean? If you had a Binky 10 out of 12 months of a year, you're happy with that. You know what I mean?
It's expensive.
It is. But I think George Kittle has the opportunity to be that guy who's like the safe option for Trey Lance to get the ball to in the middle of the field when the pocket breaks down. And I also think he's the guy that can kind of stretch the field down the middle as well and give Trey Lance, a big armed quarterback, a big target at times. So I like Deebo, nothing against Deebo, but I'm going George Kittle. That's where I'm going. How about Arizona? This one was tough for me too.
Man, these are your boys, Jake, but
Yep.
It is tough. I feel like the best Binky option is suspended for a good chunk of the year. So
Okay.
I think that in that time,
Default to old Binky.
a new Binky will emerge as the favorite.
College Binky coming back?
I think the college Binky is coming back here, and I'm going to go with Marquise Brown.
I love Marquise Brown this year. Love it. And I cannot sit here and argue with you one bit the first 6 weeks of the season that he will be said Binky. But if I'm looking at the long haul of the season, I really like Zach Ertz.
Really?
I do. I think Zach Ertz is vintage Zach Ertz this year.
Oh, what? Did you meet him? Like, how do you know this information, Jake?
I did not meet him.
Okay, I was just making sure you didn't have some type of, tour of a great facility of some place and just didn't take me on that either.
I mean, I may have some, inner intuitions, I guess you could say, but Zach Ertz to me is very underrated and a guy that would not surprise me if at the end of the season he leads them in targets.
That's pretty bold.
It's kind of bold.
I like it though.
I mean, but that's only because DeAndre Hopkins is suspended for 6 weeks. Like that totally changes, why I'm saying that. But I think Zach Ertz is that guy that bails Kyler Murray out a lot the first half of the season and continues to get red zone targets all year long and be a solid tight end like we saw him be almost all of last year in Arizona. So my Binky, I'm going Zach Ertz. And lastly, the Los Angeles Rams almost got to be a default Binky here as well.
It's the only one. It's the only default Binky where there are other Binky options. And it's just like, this Binky is so much better and clearly
this is like a
Binky.
gold-plated Binky.
It's like you took the kid to the Binky store and he picked out his own Binky and he was like, "Yeah, this is the one." Okay, this is the probably the easiest Binky of all of these. It's Cooper Cup. It's not really close.
It's 100% Cooper Cup.
For sure, Cooper Cup.
He may be the Binky of all Binkies.
This is yes, he is absolutely.
He's the chosen Binky.
This is the chosen Binky.
The chosen Binky. All right. Well, hey, we just went through 32 teams in like 40 some minutes or whatever it is. But hey, it was a lot of fun just to have a little bit of fun every once in a while. Take a look at things a little bit differently. You never know what kind of information you can pick up in a show like this. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you had fun. I've never said Binky that many times. I know Ethan. Well, you may have said it this many times before.
Did we use every possible Binky related analogy that we could use?
I'm sure we used way more than I had initially
I don't think
intended.
You can. Somebody needs to just count the number of analogies we used that were Binky related. I didn't know we were going to go there with this. But we just kept doing it.
I would say that I would give a free draft guide to somebody who can tell me the correct amount of Binky references in this video, but I don't want to go through and count them myself.
Not counting them.
If
they
you're
could
not counting
literally name any number, and I'd be like, probably
right. I don't want to count them though, so we can't do that because then I'd have to sit here and listen to it and count them.
That's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I could have my son do it, but he'd probably lose track halfway through and get a wrong number anyway. So this is what we're gonna do. We already talked about our hidden hashtag middle of the show. Hopefully you didn't miss that because I'm not going to repeat it for you right now. But if this video can also get to 800 likes, I'll give away another draft guide to somebody down below in the comment section. So make sure you do us a favor and hit that like button, leave the comment down below, and let us know if you had fun talking about Binkies for the last 40 minutes. Hopefully you realized at some point that there were timestamps down below so that you didn't have to sit around and wait for one particular team if that's what you were doing here. But me and the doc are going to get out of here. Like I said, it was fun talking Binkies with you, Ethan.
Hey, you know what? Here's the thing, Jake, is you're going to wish you knew some of these Binkies. If you didn't sit through the whole show, you're going to wish you had.
You're going to be like, I wonder who this guy's Binky is.
This is the place to be.
This is the place to be. Ain't nobody else on YouTube talking about NFL Binkies like we are, but hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And for me and the doc, we'll talk to you later. I'm a headliner.